welcome back to Murder Therapy with Doll Talk.
Welcome back.
That's not what I thought you was going to do. I thought you was going to do your murder.
Murder. I know everybody's missed. Well, not everybody's missed it. We've missed it because it's been so long since we've recorded.
Yes,
Yeah.
but for them, it hasn't because they still have got to listen week by week. So you guys have had a whole other week to decompress from Dahmer's shenanigans or whatever
Shenanigans is an
word.
understatement.
That doesn't even touch it. But what's funny is so you guys are listening to the third episode while me and Ash are recording this, but the second episode last week when it had released, I was at the beach, you was in Vegas when that episode released, and my
Yes.
mom has become our biggest fan. Like she loves the podcast, and I
Aww.
love that so much. Yes, she loves it, and she's like, it's like my new Game of Thrones, and she goes, I'm your mother and I'm her aunt. Why am I not getting early access? I was like, I don't even have early
Oh,
access. Like,
no. Not even
so-
I have early access. It's fine.
yeah, we don't even have early access. The only person that has those controls is our producer.
I know I
That's
yelled at
it.
him. I yelled at him earlier because
Yeah.
episode 10 left out areas. So people, I mean, it didn't bother me as much because I'm like, they get to see the process. And we left in like an area where Jody and I buffered, and he was supposed to edit it out, and he didn't. So,
It's okay. No, it's
yeah.
not a big deal, Ryan. I'm not worried about it. I thought it was kind of funny. And people like that. I've got a lot of
Yeah.
really positive feedback that they're like, "Don't change how you do it.
It's raw
We
and
love how
real.
you do it."
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's raw in real time. It's real. It is what it is. But I have to tell you what Mom said. So, in episode 2, it got nasty.
Oh,
Because at
yeah.
that point, that's when Dahmer's living with his grandmother, and he's taking people in the basement and all this. And the look on Mom's face, I loved getting to watch my mother. It was so entertaining because she would look and she was like, ugh. And then when it's over with, her response to all of that, are you ready?
I'm ready.
And we have to ask this question tonight when we get to the girls' part. She goes, do you think he used his grandmother's soup pot to boil those heads? And I said, he did. Where does the line draw? He wasn't like, all right, I know that I've killed lots of
Listen.
people down here and dismembered them, but I'm drawing the fine line here I gotta go to Target and buy a pot.
I,
Take time away from he was. Yeah,
The
she was
fact that your
like,
mom answered, okay, nobody, my Aunt Kimberly is the best cook. Southern cooking, oh, I
she
love it.
is.
And the fact that she's worried about his grandmother's pots and
She
pans, I
was.
love so much.
She was like that sick bastard.
Oh,
she was like,
God.
I was like, for a fact. I'm just saying. And I was going to make a TikTok while I was at the beach because I didn't even think about that
Oh,
question
God.
when Mom had said it, right? But I was going, they had this huge like steam pot thing in our Airbnb, and I was going to make a TikTok as a premiere thing for our Jeffrey Dahmer series and be like, do y'all think he used this pot? Let's ask the girls. I'm like, no, I can't do it. I gotta wait. And Mom kept asking. She's like, did you make that TikTok yet?
Oh,
About I think Mom's really wanting to know.
oh.
She's very upset.
Well, Aunt Kimberly. We don't have these details. I'm so sorry. We need to
Yeah,
dig further into it.
don't don't worry, Mom. I got you. I'm gonna ask that question tonight with
Oh,
with
we're
the
gonna ask the
girls. We're gonna
girl.
confirm. We're gonna ask the girls. Don't worry, Mom. I got you. She's gonna
Oh,
be like, stop talking about me on your podcast.
oh
But
God, I love
yeah.
it so much.
Oh,
But
I
did you have
knew that you was
fun?
gonna love that. Oh yeah, we had a blast. I got sunburnt. I was already
Given.
sunburnt before we went,
Yeah.
and I got more burnt. Me and Nathan parasailed. That was the first time I've ever done that. We'd
I
done that with my brother
saw.
and his wife. Yeah, it was funny because me and Kelly were determined that we were going to fall off the fucking banana boat. We did not. Steve ended up falling off the banana boat because you have to ride a banana boat to get out there, and it is a workout. And I said by the time we got out
Mm-mm.
there, I was exhausted. If I would have failed, like if my parachute would have collapsed or whatever, I
Mm-mm.
think I would have just gave up. I would have been like, I'm exhausted.
No.
Take
No.
me out, shark.
Shark bait. Hoo ha ha. It was
Yes,
so funny
yes.
because it was like Jody and I's vacations overlapped. Like I was already on mine for like 2 days, and then she left on hers, and um, it was I saw as we were coming back that she was parasailing, and I when we got downtime in the hotel, I was sitting there and I was going through TikToks, and I know if everybody's on TikTok, they've heard about the increase of shark attacks and like sharks that are, especially in Florida, like deaths in
I had
Florida.
not. I did not see that. It's probably a good thing that
I
I
was
didn't.
so
But
worried about you
continue.
guys. I was like, Ryan. I was like, oh my God, they're out in the ocean, like deep in the ocean. But I mean, I I don't want anybody, but I mean, Steve. No, I don't want Steve eaten by a shark either. I like him.
No, yeah,
I
we
love
like
him.
everybody. Well, I don't want anybody to be eaten by a
Nobody.
shark,
I was
but
just
it's funny that you
teasing.
said that because that morning, so my boss, shout out to my boss, he he had went parasailing months prior. Him and his girlfriend had went on a trip and they did it, and he was like, "That I promise you, that was like the coolest part about my whole trip." So that morning when we were going, I was like, "I'm just letting you know, I'm getting ready to go parasailing, and just know if I get ate by a shark, I did the best that I possibly could at my job." And he said,
No.
"I yeah, yes," and he said, "I promise you, if you get ate by a shark, I will
Mm-mm.
personally ensure that you have a shark engraved on your office door." And I was like, "Thanks, boss."
That is morbid as hell. I love it so much.
I
All I
know.
can think is
They know me
them
so well.
dipping you when you parasail. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna dip her in this like whole circle of sharks. I'm so scared for her.
Yeah, yeah. But it was
I
cool. Did you
love the
guys enjoy
beach.
Vegas?
We did. Oh my God, it was so freaking hot. Like we happened to go the first day we were there was on record, like the day broke like temperature records. I was like, why did we do this? It was 113. I don't know what it
And that
felt
would
like.
happen to you.
I know. And I'm because you guys don't know, I'm a baby. I'm not a baby. I bitch so much when it's
She's
hot.
a baby.
And I don't like heat. I don't like cold or being wet. Like, ugh, I don't like it. But I was a trooper. It was our first vacation without our son too, and it was good. It was really good. We
Yeah, good.
gambled. We walked around. Like we walked 12 miles our first day, or 13 miles our first day, 12 miles our second day, and then it started declining each day because we're old
Vegas
fucks.
is fun. I think that everyone should experience it at least
Yeah.
once. I mean, it is. It's super fun.
We had a
I
blast,
enjoyed
but it
it.
was more let's see everything because my best friend Lucy, I love her. She wants to go. It is her dream vacation, and it just wasn't in the cards for her this time around. But we want to go back, and I think we lived, we learned, and we're gonna do it different next time.
I, when you plan this Vegas trip with Lucy, I need to go because I want to
Definitely.
see Lucy experience Vegas. Y'all just gotta know Lucy. I
Ugh,
love Lucy. She's great.
she's
I
fun.
love Lucy, but I got tickled because me and Ashley were recording one night and she sent her the most inappropriate video ever. It was so bad. I'm not even gonna, yeah. And I had to tell her, I was like, and Lucy, all right, disclaimer, Lucy, you cannot send Ashley any more videos on recording nights between
Oh
usually
God.
anywhere from 6 to 10 o'clock because we have so many technical issues usually, but you can't send any more
We were so
videos.
frustrated with those technical issues, and I started busting out laughing. I was like, I'm gonna send this to Jody, and I sent it to her, and she goes, "I'm so uncomfortable," like right
I
after.
was. I was so uncomfortable. Even thinking about it makes me feel dirty.
Oh
But
God, it was so
it
funny.
does.
We're
Does.
open books. It's fun, and we're
Yes, we
yeah.
are.
But
We are.
Vegas was fun.
But
Myrtle Beach was fun.
yes.
We
But
got
you know what's not fun? Oh yes,
tattoos.
you got a tattoo.
Yes.
That now tattoos are fun. Tattoos are
Mhm.
fun. Yes.
We did the
But you know
sphere.
what's
It was
not
great.
fun? Yes, the sphere is great. It is. It's fun. Vegas is everyone
Yeah.
should like at least go to Vegas at least once.
Facts. Be
Um
ready to
yes.
first of all be broke, AF, broke as fuck. And two, be hot as fuck, and three, tired as fuck. Like that, like
Yes.
the oh man, but it's a blast. You're absolutely
Honestly,
right.
it's not a place to take your kids. I'll just be brutally honest. It's just not a it's
There was a
literally
ton
a
though.
playground for adults.
It is. What did our server at one of the places we ate called it adult Disneyland?
It is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
But it's so expensive. Be prepared, guys. Like it's super expensive.
I like Vegas.
I wasn't
I,
even
I want to
ready.
go back. Nathan's never been. I would love to take Nathan.
We should all go.
So we will have to plan a trip
Yeah. I would love that.
to take Nathan and Lucy to
Yes.
Vegas
Let's do it.
to see both of them. Yes. But unfortunately, we are not here to discuss all our fun,
We'll get the fun out of the
experiences within
way.
Las Vegas and Myrtle Beach. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got the fun out of the way. You know who is not fun?
Serial
Jeffrey Dahmer.
killers. Especially Jeffrey
Serial
Dahmer.
killers are not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just no, this one won't be as heavy as what you all are currently listening to in the moment, as well as the previous
Yeah,
episodes.
they're getting a
There
deep
will
one.
be some trigger warnings, but Jeff was caught finally. It only took years and years, but he was finally caught. He was apprehended, and he was in the police station. And forgive me, we may have talked about this, but I feel like we got to kind of backtrack just a little bit, so you might be hearing it again. I did go over the list of everything that they found in the apartment. And when they took him to the police station, there was a particular detective, Pat Kennedy, and there's lots of documentaries with Pat. Kudos to him, because there's a lot of people that I don't think could have had a stomach or the patience to sit there and listen to all that like he did. But he
Facts.
worked really well with him. I mean, hands down to him. I've talked to many, law enforcement. I deal with the judicial system a lot, and hearing that, there's some of them. No offense, I'm sorry. You don't need to be in the field that you're in. You know what I mean? Some people have a
Yeah.
tendency to have that ego boost with whatever it is, whatever their job may be, and take it too far. But I mean, he sat down with him and he didn't make like he was any better than him, that he wasn't there to judge him, that or anything. Even though he's done some really shitty, fucked up things, he treated him just like you would treat anybody else.
Isn't that mind boggling? Because I don't know that I could do that.
Well, I guess I look at it working with the population that I work with. I know what they've all done. I know some of the nastiest things. Unfortunately, I can't, disclose that right now. I have to put all of that to the side and talk to them like I'm talking to you right now. You know what I mean? Like
Fair. It's your job.
and
I
it
get it.
is hard. It is hard, especially with people that I know are sex offenders. I mean, that's a topic. I try to just look at it as if that would be, what if that was my son?
Yeah.
Or what if that was my daughter? And that's how I approach it every day. Even though I have read some of the most disgusting police reports in my entire life, there's times I've had to shut files and just take a breather. I have to approach them with that mindset that they're an equal to me,
Crazy.
regardless of everything that they've done. And it's hard. It's very hard. But with him, I mean, can you imagine?
No.
I mean, it
And
would
honestly,
be
that's a skill set, to be truthfully honest, in my opinion. A skill set, and honestly, a very good quality, like a quality that people should envy, because I can't imagine a lot of people would know how to treat them with respect after something like that.
it's hard. I will say that, but we're taught mental health. You and I are any second away from a mental breakdown. It doesn't take much for someone to eventually go into like nervous breakdown mode or
Yeah.
whatever. And you know, at any given moment, I could be a patient instead of a staff person. You know what I mean? As far as law enforcement, obviously, when it comes to like the criminal population, these are bad choices that you've made. And, in today's time, unfortunately, we've seen a drastic increase with the criminal population because I think a lot of people want to label it mental health. We have to remember evil people still exist.
True.
Criminals still exist. Mental health isn't tied to everything. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. It's
Yeah,
hard.
for sure.
So That, and I tell people in my live streams all the time, be kind. I stand by that because you have no idea what someone else is going through.
It is so true.
Granted, we know what Jeff was going through. Like, I mean, he was going he wasn't going through anything. He was causing people to go through things, but
Yeah.
he was the result, of all these terrible things happening. But yeah,
It's just
I
trauma
have to give.
gone bad, to be truthfully honest, if you think about it.
Yeah,
Some people, like
yeah. Well,
most people, handle trauma like superheroes. They're champs. They rise above, or but I feel they sometimes they become victim to it, and that ends up in results harming themselves, or but like this is a whole different side of trauma.
I sorry, you got my inner mental health
Ah,
person grinning.
I said
So
trauma, and she was like, "Bing."
yeah, well, we're going to talk about the mental illnesses that he was diagnosed with here in a little bit, and we'll touch
Clinically.
back on that. Clinically
Oh, let's
diagnosed with.
go. Okay.
And we will talk about some of the, experts have tuned in, and in the psychology world, there's people that there's lots of theories. And that's the beauty about the psychology field. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
love about it is obviously, yes, it is a science. I don't care what other people say, it's science. But so there, we have to learn things about the brain and what causes, what functions what, but it's also a very opinionated field. What
Mm-hmm.
I might feel that you might have, somebody else might not feel. I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose people, but we have doctors that literally will be like, I'm iffy, so I'm going to get a second opinion because it's a very opinionated thing. And a lot of diagnoses, especially in the personality area, there's a lot of same symptoms between each one.
Yeah.
So it can be hard to like narrow it down. But what people don't understand, let's use a schizophrenic as an example. Just because they're diagnosed with schizophrenic, does that mean that that's it? Like they can't be diagnosed with anything else? Absolutely not. I've seen lots of
Oh
schizophrenics that
no.
are also diagnosed with other,
Schizophrenia goes
you
hand in
know,
hand with lots of other things.
right.
Yeah.
And I see them get diagnosed with a lot of other, psychiatric illnesses because that's where people get confused. There's a difference between a personality disorder and a psychiatric disorder. They're two completely different things. You can medicate a psychiatric illness. You can't medicate personality,
Yeah.
right? It's a will issue. It's are they willing to change? Most cases, and I hate to say it, but truth is truth. You can come at me if you want to. But most people, let's say you're in your 50s, right? And you're diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. There's a good chance after 50 some years of behavior, you're not going to change because you don't see that it's a problem.
No.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
so we'll talk some about the opinions because there's lots of opinions on old Jeff.
Oh
But
yeah, and they all come after, his arrest, his conviction, he's sitting in jail, they do the testing. I'm sure they did it all.
yeah, oh, they don't know that they necessarily ever tested him for anything. So that's the thing. You
Let's
don't
say
really have to
this
test
is
for
did
personality
he get caught in
disorders.
the 90s?
He got caught in the 90s.
Okay.
We didn't know as much about mental health
Yeah.
then as what we
Getting there, but
do,
yeah.
now. We're kind of making a breakthrough, but not completely.
Yeah.
Now, so Pat Kennedy, we had to give flowers to him because he did something that I don't think many other people could do. Now, there were some officers, just like what the show portrayed. Remember, I said, and I think I said this was going to come back up. And in no way, shape, or form do we mean any type of way about it, but
Mhm.
some people looked at it as a race thing because a lot of Jeff's victims came from the black population. So, there was officers that was like, you moved into a low income black area because you knew you wouldn't get caught. I got to say this, and I'm not taking up for him. I don't think it had anything to do with that.
I don't either.
I really don't.
Was it
Because,
convenient? Yes.
it was convenient for him,
Yeah.
yes, but I don't think that had anything to do with it. But in their defense, I can understand why they would perceive it as
Oh,
such.
facts. Absolutely. And it does look that way for sure. But let's be real, he couldn't carry a job. He couldn't carry education. He couldn't um, survive really on his own. So where's he going to end up but a low income place because that's what he could afford.
Well, he couldn't. So, of course, they did call his dad. Jeff, I mean, how could Jeff say that wasn't mine? That barrel of, human remains in my house, that wasn't mine. The head of my refrigerator, I didn't know that was there. I mean, he just talked about it.
Yeah.
And his very flat effect, unsympathetic, just like what we're talking. He's like, yeah, started eating them and I started doing these things. I mean, he's just talking like you would talk about Jaden's soccer game
Yeah.
at dinner. Like he's just, well, I did this, this, and this. He did ask if he could be executed, which of course they did. He really did ask for that.
Yeah.
He's like, can I just get the electric chair? And they're like, well, that's not up to us. You know, that's up to the judge. I mean, he sang to them without an attorney present. I mean, it wasn't going to do him any good to have his attorney present. Like they
No.
found literally everything.
Yeah,
Like, so
you're in the hole, sir. I don't know what to tell you.
yeah, but they did call his dad,
But would you want to
and
give like somebody as monstrous as Jeffrey Dahmer what he's asking for? Especially if you're a victim's family,
hmm
although you want to see him in the same light that now you have to look at your loved one, but it's what he's asking for. I wouldn't want him.
I would. I don't think I would want him to have what he wants.
I'm not me either.
That's not right.
No.
I would ensure if it was me, and I hope I never have to go through anything like that, but I would want him to have the opposite of everything that he wanted.
Unless he was using it as a
Although
tactic.
part of me, which we'll dive into the clinical aspect here in a minute. I don't
Yeah.
want to jump ahead. So, of course, they did call Lionel because that was Jeff's dad, and that's who he relied on. And I'm sure they were like, "Do you want us to call anybody?" And he's like, "Call my dad," And they pull Lionel in a room, and they literally go over that whole god awful list. They're like, so we have arrested your son. I'm sure he was probably in the back of his mind when they first was like, so, Jeff's been arrested. He's probably been drunk in public again, or he's molested somebody again. Which
Oh,
would
poor
have to be
dad.
hard to accept anyway,
Yeah.
right? And then they're like, he's killed people, a lot of people. We found a head in his refrigerator. We found barrels of acid with torsos in it. We found all these pictures, these sexually explicit photos of bodies. And, can you imagine being a parent and having to
Mm-mm.
listen to that? Like,
No,
I
and
don't know how I would react.
let's do this. Let's give our listeners and our viewers a chance to chime in. Doesn't matter when they're listening, but how would you guys react? No judgment here, because I could see all sides. How would you react if or if your kid, you come to find out that your kid turns out to be this monster, your sweet baby turns out to be this monster, not necessarily doing the same things that Jeffrey Dahmer does, but is just a murderer or has physically hurt somebody or is just a bad person overall and ends up in prison for killing somebody for any or all reasons or multiple people? How would you feel? How would you handle it? How, like, tell us, please, in the comments,
Yeah.
please.
And again, no judgment, but I mean, really, how? I think it would be bad enough to know that your child may have killed somebody,
I'd be heartbroken, but at
willingly
the
or
same time,
unwillingly.
could you stand behind your kid? You know?
Well, I have always said I will love my children no matter what.
Yeah.
And I might not agree with some of the actions that they have, and I might agree that they're in a place that they need to be for whatever that may be. I mean, again, I'm hoping they don't ever go down that path. Do I
Mm-hmm.
foresee that? No, but I think that all these parents of these people that did do monstrous things like Jeffrey Dahmer, I think Lionel ever in a million years thought he'd be sitting in there listening to the fact that his son had
No.
heads in refrigerators. But you better believe I'm still going to go see my children. I'm still going to love them. I'm still going to accept phone calls because that's my son.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of the choices that they made, but that's my kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
It would be hard.
I brought you here to support you. I brought you here to take care of you. I get that they're adults, but you're never done being a parent, no matter what their age. So I'm with you.
Mhm.
I will always love my son no matter what. I don't have to agree with what he did, and I will make it known if that ever is the case. But yeah, I
Right.
can't turn my back on my kid.
Well, Jeff was given, of course, a court appointed attorney. They did let him see Lionel after, everything came out. And Lionel, is doing his absolute best to hold it together. And he hugs him and he just says, I had no idea that you were this sick. Because in his mind, how else would you define those actions?
Mm-hmm.
We normal people don't decapitate people and keep
Oh.
their heads in refrigerators. That's not a thing. Normal people do not freeze the human heart in their freezer, as well as human genitalia. That is
Mm-hmm.
not normal. Okay? Just remember that. Like, so he's like, I had no idea you were this sick. And then he kind of, I wouldn't say in that very moment that he started saying it's when I took you, and we were picking up all these animals and everything. He did mention that later on. Um, but he was like, I had no idea. And Jeff's response to him was, I really messed up this time. No shit, Jeff, you
Right.
fucking think?
It's
Like,
one of those things where like it comes full circle for his dad. He's like, "Oh my god, now all these questions about science experiments that I thought he was showing interest in my job, it's clicking. It's all coming to fruition and I get it."
yeah. Well, and of course, the media went haywire. You don't hear about small apartments
Mm-mm.
containing 17 bodies.
Oh, fuck no.
I mean, the media fucking went insane. And this is where I sympathize really with Lionel because he had all these people outside his house recording, and then all the media, of course, does what the media does, and they take a little grain of salt, one piece, and they turn it into a big giant molehill and start putting things like, oh, Lionel molested Jeff. That never happened. He
Mm-hmm.
never molested his son. Or that he was in a very abusive household. I wouldn't say it was very abusive.
I wouldn't either. Neglected?
He didn't
Yeah.
have neglected, yes. um there are things, again, we'll touch more base on in here in a minute, but Lionel wasn't a bad dad. I'm sorry, people can, and you're welcome to put your opinions on that, because some people think Lionel really fucked him over just as much as his mother did and all this. And I get it to a degree, but I really don't think he was that bad of a dad.
Yeah.
I think it was a situation. It was damned if you do, damned if you don't. And quite frankly, if you want my opinion when it comes to the genetics, Jeff was fucked in the very beginning before he ever
Mm-hmm.
came on Earth. That's my opinion. You
We
don't have
don't
to
really
agree
know a
with
lot
it. You don't have
about
to like it.
his genetics, but we already know that his mom's was a little and I mean, at the point of abandoncy, he was kind of an adult. I mean,
Well, when it comes to childhood trauma, I stand by you can pity the child, not the adult. It's up to you to take your trauma and turn it into something positive.
facts.
If you sit there and you utilize it as a crutch, I don't feel sorry for you. I'm
No.
sorry.
And to be
It,
truthfully honest, and I know Jody also can relate, but my husband's dad was, to be truthfully honest, very, very absent in his like very absent in his life, almost to
mm-hmm.
non-existent. But the early years he was around, so I'll give him that if I give him anything at all. And Jody can relate, but it's one of those things where you two literally turned around for the better. My husband's one of these. I'm gonna break that cycle. I'm gonna make sure of it, and it was a driving point and a motivation for him.
Right,
Yeah,
right. But it's
but Jeffrey did not
it,
do that.
no, Jeff did not. No, but his court-appointed attorney, that his job obviously is to help Jeff to his best capability. He's not really given a whole lot of a defense mechanism for him because, I mean, they have found literally everything. And Jeff was honest. He was like, "Well, I did this, this, and this, and this." And these interrogations, I mean, they went in for days. I mean,
Yeah.
he was very graphic with police, but his court-appointed attorney did indeed, just like the series, utilize the Ed Gein. Um, I don't want to say excuse, but he kind of compared
Hmm.
Ed Gein because Ed Gein was granted not guilty reason of insanity.
Yeah.
Um, and I think so. Here's something I want to explain what NGRI is because I think that people have this mentality that not guilty reason of insanity means that you're just a sick person altogether. That's not what that means. Not guilty reason of insanity. We have to prove that at the time that you did the crime itself, you were not in your right mind. Not that you have like this long lasting mental illness because the mentally ill can break the law.
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
because they're mentally ill doesn't mean that you get the pass, right? Of, oh, well, you're sick, so it's okay. We're gonna slap
No.
you on the hand. That's not how
Right and wrong.
that works.
Black and white.
Right and wrong. And honestly, I think NGRI just, and I hear a lot of people be like, well, that's a free get out of jail free card. No,
Mm-mm.
it's not. Honestly, they do more time in the system as NGRI than what they would if they were placed in, prison, if that
It's
makes sense.
less harsh, but you're still
Well,
locked up.
at
You're
that
still
point,
being
really,
watched. You're still on restrictions.
with NGRI, they are placed in, they're not in a prison, they're in a psychiatric facility where they are monitored. And,
So you're still in prison.
every,
It's just in a different place, being
right.
monitored differently.
And Ed Gein was mentally ill. I will say that. He 100% was mentally ill. I did read something on him because his tapes were released on
Mm-hmm.
A&E. I think it was A&E, I think. And I watched it and I was curious and I did read up on it. He was actually one of the best patients that they had at that psychiatric facility. Like he
I
never gave
can't.
them any trouble or
He
anything.
was
Yeah,
so
I know.
brutal that I could not. I couldn't. It was hard to watch.
Yeah. But what they did utilize that kind of as a comparison, and I
Mm-hmm.
I get it to a degree, but at the same time I'm like, you can't plea insanity 17 times.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like one or two, maybe.
Oh, because it's per count.
17 per
Mm.
count.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. No.
I'm like,
Sorry, Jeff.
no. Yeah, sorry. But in his defense, he was like, I'm not sick. Like, he's like, I'm not mentally ill. And they're like, but we want you to do this. And his dad was present for it, and I get it. I think in his dad's mind was he didn't want to let him go, and he worried about him in the prison setting.
Mm.
And he was like, you would get help at this point. I want, and it's like, it's kind of too late. Instead of micromanaging him
Yeah.
and like being like, I want you to do this, and I feel like that this is going to fix this. You don't get a big say in this anymore, Lionel. That's not how this works. So I again, I feel sorry for him because
He's
I
an
think he was
adult,
literally just trying
Lionel.
to do, yeah, well, and I kind of feel like he was just kind of doing what he felt was best in the given
Yeah.
moment. So, all right. Obviously, he did have to have psychiatric evaluations. That's part
Mm-hmm.
of the NGRI process. And I think that people think that you sit down with an evaluator, you're talked to, and they write a report. That's not how it works. It is a lot. There's many people usually involved in our process anyway. Back then, it could have just been one person that you're talking to the whole time, but usually you have multiple people because just like what I said before, psychology is a very opinionated thing.
Mm-hmm.
What one doctor might feel like you have doesn't necessarily mean that another doctor is going to agree with that. They could be like, nope, I think it's this, not that. And
Oh
this
yeah.
is, my supporting evidence for it. Not to mention that Jeff's testimony could change between other people. He could be more vulnerable with another one than he would another. It's a lot of back and forth. But he was evaluated. right? And one of his big diagnoses, and I forgive me because I tried to look it up and I couldn't find it, but if you get curious, people, you have access to the DSM-5, which is our holy grail in the psychology world. It is our
Oh,
Bible.
the
um,
Bible.
yes,
Bible.
it's not the Bible, but it's the DSM-5, the new edition. I just redid it, but so they 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 meet with him. And one thing that Jeff talked about, so we're going to get graphic. You may want to fast forward. I told you we wouldn't completely through everything.
Or
Jeff,
don't.
or don't.
Or don't.
Listen if you want to. But he loved to talk about how much he loved to feel the insides.
Oh.
And what really turned Jeff on
Ugh.
was the shininess of the joints, the human joint. That
No, I never
he,
knew
yes,
that.
he loved it. And there is a disorder for that. Not particularly to, it doesn't say in the DSM-5 to human joints, obviously. Like, he didn't get any credit for that or anything. But if you go into the section of the DSM-5 and you look up, like, sexual disorders, because there's a whole section specifically for sexual disorders, you will find it. I
So,
can't remember
wait,
what it's
he
called,
liked
but
the
that was one of his diagnoses.
shininess?
He liked the shininess. Yes.
Well, he was blonde. Okay. I'm just,
Well, I'm
don't
like,
come for me. I'm
you like the
blonde, guys.
shininess.
Okay. If you're
I
listening
can
on
think of a
Spotify.
mil. Listen, I know some people have their sexual fetishes. Okay, whatever.
That's
Feet, if that's your thing, fine. So be it. You like a woman to be your, dominant person.
you
Cool. I'm
like
not judging you.
fuzzies or people dressed up like characters. Cool.
I'm not judging you, but if shiny
Get your rocks
things
off.
are your thing, that's fine, cool. But don't use the human anatomy unwillingly for that need. Go buy, I can think of a million shiny things that you can buy that, like,
I'm
my
done.
phone is shiny. Yeah, like, she's like, I'm
I'm
done.
done. The shininess,
I,
I can't. I can't.
yeah, he liked the
Listen,
shininess
I
of the
took
human.
anatomy. I did in college, and they did not fixate on the shininess of joints. That only comes from
Well,
somebody that has experience, Jeffrey. Okay.
again, I don't think that he got his own little area in the DSM-5 and was like, "Thanks, Jeffrey Dahmer, you
Mm-mm.
gave us this in the DSM-5." I don't, but if you look up, sexual disorders, there's a whole section.
Oh,
And I know
so
some
gross.
people's like, "We don't have the DSM-5. You don't got to go to the library, people. Go online, but make sure you're looking up like the DSM-5 to
You
find
can
it. You're
find
not
wrong
going to
things on the internet too, so
You can, so be
search it
careful, okay?
right.
But anywho, along with Jeff and his psychiatric, disorders, because he's a lot,
It's a
right?
list.
Um, he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Do you have any idea as to why he would be diagnosed with that before I say?
Like as to personality traits or like
Well, do you understand the difference between a borderline and an antisocial?
oh god, no. I wish I would have dove deeper into that in college, but like I wasn't going into psychiatric stuff, so.
So, the borderline personality disorder, just so people understand this, and this is actually a very common personality disorder diagnosis. And this is where I wish that in the psychology world, listen, if somebody from the American Psychology Association is listening to this, not that I think that they are, we need to talk. I need you to redo the DSM because obviously one borderline is not the same as
Ugh,
another borderline, right?
okay.
Like, borderline people that have BPD have a tendency to, they have severe attachment issues. They go hot and cold in a millisecond. They're
Mm.
very attention seeking people. They engage most, like, more severe cases have a tendency to engage in self harm. And it's not to actually intentionally off themselves. It's an attention seeking
Mhm.
behavior, right?
Mhm.
They have a tendency to be very narcissistic. And again, because this girl commented a very nasty thing on one of my Gypsy Rose Blanchard videos, because I talked about how I feel she definitely has APD, which is antisocial personality disorder, and I had mentioned how I feel that she does have some borderline characteristics, and this woman, listen, lady, if you listen to this, which I doubt
Listen,
you,
Linda.
was like, yeah, listen, you Karen. Um, she was literally like, well, my son, and I feel her bob in her head, has a BPD. So make sure you're careful when generalizing that. And I sat back and I'm like, so this is my moment, because I've been meaning to respond to that, and I'm a busy lady. First of all, borderline, just to throw this out there, whoever you are, borderline personality disorder usually comes from a nurture thing. So you might want to step back and look at some of your parenting traits and see how that, contributed to your son's BPD. Secondly, I love the look on your, but it's the truth. I'm
Oh
just
God,
speaking
it's
the
like one of
truth.
these like
Secondly,
Jody. Okay.
she said he's not in prison. Well, that's great. I'm glad. I hope he never does go to prison. Don't break the law and that won't happen.
Yeah.
He can be somebody that functions with it. I'm not generalizing BPD. You want to get pissed off at somebody? Be pissed off at the American Psychology Association. They wrote the DSM-5, not me. Like, I'm just going to
No.
throw that out there. Yeah.
Listen.
So, anywho,
I don't like to make
but look
waves, so
on
I'm
your.
always like, let's just assume positive intent. That's my, really, that's my career and what they train me to be. They train me to be a robot. But um, when you work customer service and stuff like that, but assume positive intent. And I'm like, oh, with a text, maybe she just was being nice and just letting you
No,
know, like one of ours letting us know we gave a misfact, and I truly appreciated it. But like you're like, no, no, that she could
no.
have got
Well, she
offended.
was like, she also was like, did you sit in a room and evaluate her?
No.
No. And I'm like, no, you're correct. I didn't. But let me tell you, after working in as many years of psychiatric care, baby doll, I ain't got to sit in a room with them. I can read their notes and be like, BPD before they even come in. And guess what? Most of the time they are. I'm just throwing that out there.
Jody
But
just with her
anywho.
psychic powers, just like BPD.
Yeah. So anywho, I wish that they would put it on the spectrum, and I say that because you look at Jeff, who is a BPD, right? And he did awful, god awful things.
Yeah.
He was diagnosed with that because he liked to eat his victims to keep them with him forever. That's what gave
Weird.
him that big diagnosis, because the attachment disorder. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, he also was diagnosed with APD, antisocial personality disorder, which is formerly known as a sociopath or sociopathy. They don't utilize that
The
term anymore.
hiccups. Sorry.
I don't know. I probably, because we're in the world of snowflakes, I'll be honest. And sociopath just sounds really bad, right? But if you hear antisocial personality disorder, you're like, well, that's not so bad. I hate to break it to you, it's the exact same fucking thing. Um, They have a disregard for
You
the
heard it here
law.
first.
They have, yes, you heard it here first. They have no remorse. They're extremely
Mm-hmm.
narcissistic. They're very entitled people. They're very manipulative. That's the thing. Ted Bundy was diagnosed with antisocial
Facts.
personality disorder.
Facts. And to
You
be
know,
truthfully honest, if you look at all of Jeffrey Dahmer's past, that's him to a T.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. He now, as far as like theories go, those was the two diagnoses he was given, as well as that sexual disorder. Of course, necrophilia was a given, and substance abuse. I don't think I need to touch base on either one of those as to what contributes to that. I hope not. Do you Google search if you need? You're like, what is necrophilia? I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritty details about it. Substance
If
abuse,
you want
obviously,
that
he was a
on your
chronic
browser
alcoholic.
history, I suggest Googling
Yes,
it, okay?
yes.
Okay.
So, as far as theories go, though, a lot of people felt that he may have psychotic disorder.
Mm.
Doesn't necessarily mean schizophrenia or anything, and they say that because his delusions, like, right, of making sex zombies, that's a thing. Not that that's a thing. I'm not saying sex zombies are a thing. I mean, like,
That's a whole
basically,
apocalypse I don't want to be a part of, okay?
Yes, right. His thought disorders. They felt that he could have potentially had hallucinations, which I disagree with. I don't think he was hallucinating at all.
Yeah, I didn't
Um,
get that either.
yeah, paranoid ideation. Which he was a very paranoid person. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
To a degree, he
You're
was
doing
a
something
paranoid
wrong. Who
person.
isn't? I mean, let's be
Yes,
real.
and he detached himself from reality a
Mm-hmm.
lot. I can kind of see it. Again, this part is theories. Doesn't mean he was necessarily diagnosed with
Yeah.
it. Um, but yeah, they also said that they believed that he could have schizotypical personality disorder, which is intense social anxiety, which I can kind of see. Thought disorders, right? That makes sense because his thought process was yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't know, you can't. Um, and again, the paranoid ideation
Yeah.
that tied into it, but technically, just because he's one, he can have personality traits like the attention seeking, which we're going to touch base on here again in a second.
Yeah.
I can totally see. Of course, the antisocial, 100%. He is absolutely an antisocial. He didn't give a fuck.
No,
He played like he did, but I really don't think he had any remorse.
he
But I
doesn't
gotta
care.
give it to him. He didn't blame his family not one time. He could have totally been like, "Well, my mom was a piece of shit," but he never did. He was like, "Leave my family alone. They didn't do that. I did. Kill me. I want to die."
He really did take responsibility for everything. But I mean, that doesn't make him worthy of being glorified or anything like that. But like, yeah, he
Right.
did for sure.
Well, in his trial, he was indicted for 17 murder charges. I'm sure that there was I'm almost. I've never looked it up. I don't know that you could still look it up because it was so long ago, but they did. I'm like they had to have like give him many other charges among from murder charges, like
Oh, facts.
yeah, you know what I mean,
Fa-
like the improper disposal of human remains, or abuse of a corpse, and just he
It's
had
our
to have
theme the last
like
couple of
other
days
things.
or the couple episodes. Dear gosh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah, gross abuse of a corpse.
He,
Um,
mm-hmm.
I'm sure rape. I'm sure stuff with minors. I'm sure a lot. Like we could just like unroll the freaking list.
Yeah. Well, he did plead NGRI, and he
Mm,
probably did that because his dad and his attorney,
told him to.
they told him to. Um,
I fully
Now
think if he wasn't
he
told to, he would have just took responsibility. To be honest.
now the doctor that did his evaluations did say, "Do I believe that Jeff is very sick? Yes. Do I believe he knew what he was doing? Yes." There's a difference. He can be a
Mm-hmm.
very sick person and have capacity. Jeff had enough capacity to know this is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
So um the jury deliberated for 5 hours and returned with a verdict of
Quick.
guilty on 15 counts. Two of those, he was not. Um, which I know it sounds bad. I get it, like from family members, like you would want him to get that sentence on those two, but it really
Mm-hmm.
didn't matter because he's going to serve life in prison anyway. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So,
Yeah. At this point,
yeah.
who cares?
Now, the big thing that a lot of people before his sentencing happened, and a lot of people have seen the infamous video, was when the victims' families came forward and they gave their, but their victim impact statement. The most infamous one was Earl Lindsay's sister. And all these other family members that came up and they were like, this is my aftermath and this is the world that I have to live in. And she came in full force and she's like, this is how you are when you are mad. I don't think I got to go into all the nitty gritty details about it,
Watch
but
it.
she
Google
went
it.
after his ass. Yeah. It's intense.
It is intense. And
Even
all of them are just heartbreaking. But that one was, yeah.
I don't. I've always wondered if she ever made peace with it. I don't think that she has because she did really say,
I hope for her sake
I
that
can't
she
remember
did.
what she said. I hope she did too. I really do. But she, if she could have got her hands on him, she would have done some damage, but she did. She went after
I
him
would
in the
have let
courtroom
her.
before she was escorted out. And I mean, honestly, I think that they wanted to, but they're like, we can't.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't. But
Yeah, justice has to be balanced somewhere.
Jeff did not wear his glasses in the courtroom that day because he didn't want to look at the families. He never has said that, but it's like, you wear your glasses all the other times. Like,
Disgusting.
motherfucker, own up to it. Look at
You
them.
took their
Look,
loved ones, you look them in the goddamn face, and you
that's
accept
right.
your consequences.
Absolutely. But he did not wear his glasses.
Disgusting.
He did not. Now, when he got up to give his statement, which I'm going to read to you, he apologized for his crimes,
Oh, I bet he
and
did.
he ended it with, I hated no one. But did you, Jeff? Like, but
Did
did you?
you? Did you?
I knew I was sick or evil or both. Now I believe I was sick, and it's like he's kind of like, show me some sympathy, because I am, that's the way I take it. But the doctors have told me about my sickness, and now I have some peace. But do you, Jeff? Like, I'm
I
sorry,
hope you
but do
don't.
you? He didn't. He didn't have no
Yeah.
peace. I don't think so. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't think he cared.
Nope.
I don't think he
No.
cared. I know how much harm I have caused. Thank God there will be no more harm that I can do. I believe that only the Lord Jesus Christ can save me from my sins. I ask for no consideration.
Jesus, Pete, man.
But do you, Jeff? Just one more time.
Yeah.
But do you?
It's
So,
just gross.
obviously, he was given a life sentence. He was sent to the Columbia Correctional Institute in, is that Portuguese, Wisconsin? I probably am not saying it correctly, but it's
Um,
somewhere in Wisconsin.
in the cheese state.
Yes, in the cheese state. He was separated. He wasn't immediately
Mm-hmm.
put into general pop for his own safety. Um, he was considered a model prisoner, though, which again, I said Ed Gein also.
Well, let's be real.
Yeah.
Despite how big of a monster he was never one to make scenes out in the general public. So that's fine.
Now, obviously, we know from other inmates that they say, which I'm sorry, I'm like, he totally did that. Because, he's a sick
Uh,
fucker. I don't care what anybody says. That he toyed with people and would, like,
mm,
eat his, like, chicken. Like, he was like, if this was a human, he would toy with
mm-hmm.
people. And he would, like, ketchup as, like, blood and, like, fuck around with people. Because he can't be out to fuck around with people anymore. So why not do it when we're in prison? So
Yeah.
a lot of the other inmates did not like him at all.
Well, the
And
other
he kind of
thing
done that to himself.
was, and I'm so sorry if I'm jumping the gun.
No, you're all right.
They kept they kept under wraps what he did. Like, I don't know how.
As much as
I don't know how. But a
I
lot of the
don't
inmates were
know,
so sheltered that they didn't know to the extent of what he did.
they knew he killed people, but they
Yeah.
didn't know all the nitty gritty
Their
details.
ages, they didn't,
They,
yeah, they didn't know details of anything. And the sickening part is the man was glorified. Women and men all across the country would send him mail, send him money to put on his books, send him pictures, send him letters. Disgusting.
mm-hmm,
He's a fucking
they did.
monster. And you guys are glorifying him. There are people around this, within that vicinity, missing their loved ones. If that were one of your loved ones, would you be sending him a letter? No, you wouldn't. Come on. Like, I
No.
love to study, I love to learn about these cases, obviously for a whole different reason than you guys do. I would not be like sexualizing a freaking serial killer. Come on. It's gross.
Well, he did get a lot of fan mail, and that's
Yeah,
what it is. And,
it's
like,
gross.
people, I mean, that was the happening thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of his property was being sold, which prosecutors intervened, and they're like, he's not profiting off of this. And they did give that money to the victims, as they should. The two police officers the night that they basically redelivered the 14-year-old boy to him, and that's what they did. They were suspended, but unfortunately they did get their jobs back. And I'm like, I'm
I know
sorry.
it.
You
Oh.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
They did end up having to tear down the apartment complex, which I totally get, but at the same time I'm like, as if people haven't been through enough. He affected a lot of people, not just the families that of these people that he killed, but look at the people that lived beside him that complained and did everything they could to intervene, and no
Yeah.
one listened.
I
And
just feel like
and
tearing
in
down the
the end,
building was symbolic. I hate to see people lose their homes, especially good homes that can give you a roof over your head in low income and tight times. But it was so tainted and there was so much negative energy in that building. I think it was symbolic for it to go.
well, yeah, absolutely. I hate it for them. It's like as if they haven't been through enough. You know what I mean?
Now
That's
they
what
have to find new
I'm getting
homes.
at.
I get
Like,
it.
that's what breaks my heart. It's like they didn't listen, and now they're losing their
Mm-hmm.
home. They're already battling. I can't imagine what that has to be like, to know in the back of your mind that your neighbor was killing people and you called 911 and no one would listen. I hope I never have to
Or you didn't call
understand those
911. You
feelings.
smelled it, you heard it, you saw it,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't do anything about it because you were like, maybe I'm seeing stuff. And that's nothing against you. That's you minding your own business, trying to be 100% sure before you do something. I totally get it. I'm not judging. But that if I were to find out that that happened and oh shit, I heard something that night and I didn't call, I'd beat myself up a little bit and I feel bad for
I
those
wouldn't
people.
forgive myself.
Yeah, I feel bad for those people. And that's
I
okay.
wouldn't forgive myself.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's not their fault.
Mm-mm.
They're no one's to blame. But
Yeah.
so here they're losing their home. Jeff's getting fan mail as if he's a fucking celebrity, and of course he's
Sickening.
eating that up.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting attention. People want to hear from him. People are wanting, autographs and things, and he's eating that shit up. People are sending him money. At this time is also when John Wayne Gacy was back in the media
Mm-hmm.
again because his
Yep.
execution was coming up. And that narcissistic fat motherfucker had the audacity to be like, I'm innocent. No, motherfucker,
Mm.
you weren't. You had 33 people under your house. That doesn't just happen overnight. Sorry. Like,
I just think
yeah,
of
so
Ryan's
of course
ornaments. And I just
I
laugh.
love them. They're right beside me over here. But
There's a John
anyway,
Wayne Gacy one, you guys, and it says Full House on one of the backs of them. It's so funny.
it does.
But okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Keep an eye
Anywho,
out for Christmas. We
he,
might do a giveaway for
yes,
that.
yes. But so Gacy's on there.
Yeah.
He's just as bad. Honestly, he
Worse.
was worse.
He
I'm
was
sorry.
worse.
That's my opinion. People are can believe whatever they want to believe, but I feel like he was worse.
The brutality, I
So
think, what made it
getting
worse.
he's getting ready to be executed, and he talks about that God has forgave him, that he found
Mm,
Jesus and everything, and
I
all
bet he
the
did.
things, and then Dahmer's like, huh, I think I need to do that because I don't like that this guy's getting attention, and I'm not getting as much fan mail. No, I don't know that that's really what he said, but I'm sorry. Convince me otherwise. You got baptized. It is factual. This motherfucker got baptized the same day John Wayne Gacy got executed. You can't
Well,
tell me that's coincidental. I'm sorry.
no,
Now,
it's
there
not.
was a solar eclipse that day. I was like, because I thought Netflix. I'm like, really, Netflix? All that fucking happened in one day? It really did. Like, and I'm like,
She's like, I'm
like,
gonna Google it,
I did.
and she's like,
I
well,
was like,
damn it.
I don't know. I'm a very spiritual person. I don't know how I feel about the moon doing cool shit when all that was happening. Maybe the universe was like, we really got to cleanse. Like, they were like, we got to cleanse.
We've got to
Dahmer's
wash
getting
the.
baptized and John Wayne Gacy's getting executed all at the same time.
I'm
Like, I
not.
don't know that it
I'm a
happened in the
very
very same time.
spiritual person. I've been in and out of many religions growing up. Catholic religion, pagan, Christian, all that good stuff. So I know that most of them believe God forgives you of all your sins when you repent. I just don't. I just don't. I don't.
I I believe that there are some things that are unforgiven. Do I believe that Jeff and John Wayne
Facts.
Gacy did things that were unforgiven? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not God. I can't speak on behalf of him.
And your judgment day is between you
But
and God, your God, or whatever
exactly,
you believe in. That's between
exactly,
you
absolutely.
guys. So I'm not here to say how your judgment day went.
Right, no, and we're not trying to be influential with any
No.
spiritual or religious beliefs.
Mm-mm.
It's just the fact that I'm sorry, I don't think that Jeff's Christianity path was pure, and I really want to do better. I need to make peace. I
His
don't think
random
it was
thought of,
that. It
I'm going to
was,
be a Christian. Like,
yeah,
I just don't.
nah. I
I
don't
don't.
buy it. I'm sorry. And of course, Lionel was like, he was over the moon happy that Jeff was getting baptized and everything.
Yeah.
And I get it. I think in his spirituality, Father, since it was, I will be reunited with my son one day.
I love
That's the
that.
way I look at it.
I dig that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the way I look at it.
It
But
gives him hope, for sure.
that happened. Obviously, Jeff is spending the rest of his life in prison. Now,
He's in there like swimwear,
of
guys.
course, people have found Joyce, right? Joyce is coming back up, and they're, the media is harassing her. She did do
Oh,
interviews, and she did talk about how she felt he was so sick, that she loved her son, and I admire that. I really do. Um, that she did have phone calls with him, and she did say that he did say he still had those dark fantasies. So if Jeff would have been, I don't think he would have done those things in like a psychiatric hospital had he got NGRI, which he wasn't going to get. But hypothetically, if he would have got NGRI, I don't think that he would have done it because there's too many people around. But he had those fantasies. Those
facts.
never went away because he's just a cold blooded monster. But she never would take accountability and be like, I contributed to this. I left him alone when I shouldn't have left him alone. I didn't care if he could take care of himself or not. She never, not once, has ever, which, of course, she's dead now. She died in 2011, but she would always pivot to, I think he had this wrong with him, or I think he had that wrong with him. Meanwhile, when
Excusing
Lionel's
the
talking to the
behavior.
media, and Lionel was present, and you can pull it up and watch it. Jeffrey Dahmer did do a news interview with his dad right there, talking about all these things, and Lionel's just sitting there letting him talk about it. And they again made a point. Jeff said, "Don't blame my family. I'm to blame for this. They have nothing to
Mm-hmm.
do with this." He never said anything about his mom, though. I
Yeah.
gotta say that, but he did talk to his mom. He was still in contact, probably not as much as his dad. I don't know if Joyce ever went and seen him in prison. If I had to guess, I don't think so. I
No.
bet you she never. She did go to the trials though.
Yeah, but it's a
Um,
typical human response. I mean, if something happened with a loved one, especially your child, you would turn around like, okay, what did I do? How did I contribute to this? How did I turn this sweet innocent child into such a monster? That's just a part of being a human, and I feel bad for the fact that his parents had to go through that, but he was a grown adult and knew what he was doing.
well, yeah, absolutely.
School also teaches right from
But
wrong. He has multiple influences besides just his parents. Kids usually do, even though their circles are so small. They know right from wrong, or they should know right from wrong. So
yeah, well, November the 28th of
mm,
1994. We're fast forwarding. Jeff's been in prison. He's been fucking around with inmates. He's trying to sell nude pictures to other inmates of women that sent themselves. Like he's just, yeah. Dahmer and inmate Jesse Anderson
yep.
were both beaten to death, by fellow inmate Christopher Scarver. Um,
They were reined up to do a job. They said, "Hey, I'll
yes.
do this job." They needed the gym cleaned because there was a workout just before. They were like, "Okay, I'll do this," and that's where it turned south.
Well, the observing guard just happened that day to leave them alone for about 20 minutes. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of like, you were involved. You can't tell me otherwise. What, but Jeff was beaten to death. There was,
He got wind of what Jeff did. Somehow he got a hold of his file or news. He got a hold of a news article in the library and found out one of the
mhm,
victims was a minor, I think it was. Null and void. No
not,
minor shit. None. Done.
well, he's also said that Jeff fucked with him a lot in prison,
Mm.
which I can see.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was like, I've had it. This guy also had a series of mental illnesses. I don't know. You forgive me, but I'm not entirely sure if he had been completely med compliant at that time. And he ended up killing Jeff and beating him to death with the same weapon he killed his first victim with. What
Wow.
goes around comes around.
I did not
Yeah,
know that.
he did.
Oh, yes,
Mhm.
I did. Jeff, not the. Okay. What Jeff killed his first victim
Yes,
with.
yeah.
Okay.
What Jeff killed his first
Mm,
victim with is what he
yep.
died by.
I knew that.
But
See how
Lionel and
tables
Joyce,
turn? It's great.
tables turned. Lionel and Joyce ended up in a long court battle because Jeff had put in his will when he died, he just wanted to be cremated as soon as possible. He didn't want a service, he didn't want anything, and I get it. And before they could continue, they ended up saving the brain because there was a court battle over Jeff's brain. Joyce wanted it to be looked at. Lionel was like, "That's not what my son wanted."
Put him to
And it's
rest.
yeah. And Lionel ended up winning because given the fact that Jeff did all these awful things, he
There was a
did have a
will.
legal binding will,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to honor his wishes
Yep.
regardless. I am the person, I'm not like, if we could have looked at his brain, I really truly feel like we could have learned so much. But at the
Yeah.
same time, this is where my sympathy for Lionel goes. He just wanted it over with.
Would you not?
I
I would.
I
I want it
would.
to be
As a
done.
parent, yeah. Yeah, but I think the only reason Joyce wanted it looked at, she didn't give a fuck what was wrong with him.
Mm-mm.
It was just if he gets labeled with something like physically wrong with the brain, I can say I was right and I wasn't at fault. That's all that was
And
to
there was
her.
an excuse for
Her.
his behavior, and it wasn't
And
put
there
on
was an
her
excuse for
parenting.
her his behavior. It wouldn't that's the only reason. She didn't care about him when he was young. Why do you care about him now?
No, if you want to study it, you can study it. That's pretty much what she was pretty much doing. And let's be honest, us being kind of in the medical, well, I'm not in the medical field anymore, but I was headed that direction. We all wanted to study this. There, like I said, there's got to be. We feel like there's got to be answers to how people end up this way or having these thoughts, and that's what they wanted. They wanted to see. They wanted to study. They wanted to test those theories. So, but we didn't get it. It's fine.
Yep. And that's our story of Jeffrey
Jeffrey,
Dahmer. I
Jeff.
told you he's a lot.
Yeah,
Old Jeff.
old Jeff.
Old
According to our
Jeff.
mom, she's on a first name shortened basis. Jeff.
Yes, we are on a short name. I about said short name. So obviously we have questions. I'm sure you have
Lots.
lots. There's so like
Her
there's
mom
so
has
many
questions as
things.
we discussed. So
Even mom's got questions.
drum
Yes,
roll. We got
yes.
to bring
So
the
let
girls.
me.
It's been three. Well, we're on episode 4 of Jeffrey Dahmer. We
Mhm.
have to bring in the girls after 4 episodes. They have a lot to say. I bet
They're like, we're done. We
we're
don't
gonna get
want
it.
anything to do with him.
We're gonna get a new.
We don't want anything to do with him. All right, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go,
Here we go.
girls.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
All right, ladies. Yeah. Hey, did you hear him? Hey. So can we talk about Jeffrey Dahmer for a minute?
I swear I heard go.
I heard it. They're like, whatever. I swear I thought I heard I'm here. Jeff, you're not welcome in my house. I'm sorry. Like, if Jeff has popped in, you're not welcome.
I rebuke.
I heard thin.
Hmm.
So, all
Facts.
right, we got to ask mom's question first.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. For my mother. So, did Jeff boil heads in grandma's soup pot? Sure.
No, okay, I didn't hear
I'm pretty
that.
sure it was
I
for sure. I'm pretty certain they said for sure. Sorry, Mom.
I hope that's just
All
their
right.
opinion and not facts.
Do you all think that Jeff had a series of psychiatric illnesses? I heard no. No, they don't.
Here we go. It comes through like when it's really quiet or there's not enough on there, it's hard to
Yeah.
hear.
All right. Everyone, stop for a second. Do you think that all of what Jeff did was strictly personality? Yeah, I heard yeah.
I don't know why it's so hard this time. Normally we hear it super clear. Um, I want to ask, do you feel that Jeff had sympathy for even just one victim?
Do you think that Jeff had any sympathy for at least one person? Yes, I heard yes.
I feel like it was that one he had that overnight with. He
Was it?
seemed, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it was the one that he had the overnight with? No.
Mm,
Interesting. I
that
wonder,
is
do you know
interesting.
which one it was?
Probably the one that freaking escaped.
That's the one he had sympathy for.
Only because he got caught.
Yeah. So, did Jeff try to serve his neighbors human remains? I heard he tried.
That's a good question.
Yes. He's so gross.
That's disgusting. Um, did he really become religious or was that just a
Oh, that's a
ploy
good
or
one.
tactic?
Did Jeff really become religious? Or was it just a ploy? I heard I hope, and I think that someone was like, I hope he became religious.
I hope he did too, to be truthfully honest, even though I don't think it would help, but it's all dependent upon what you believe. But um, there's so many.
There is. There's just so many questions.
Did his dad not want to donate his brain to science just for this to be done, or did he really want Jeff to just be at peace?
Did Jeff's dad not want his brain donated for peaceful reasons? Yeah, that was a big one. And
I think his
was
dad
it,
truthfully cared.
I think he did too. Did Lionel really care? He did. I
Yeah, I
heard,
heard
yeah, he
that.
did. What about his mother? I heard no. I feel like Joyce probably avoids Jack in the
What
afterlife.
about his brother? I feel like his brother didn't want anything to do with him, but did he
He
care at
didn't.
all?
Did David care at all? Yep, I heard yes. But I
It's
just
your
feel like
big
he just wanted
brother.
to dissociate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
But he changed his name. He doesn't go by
Yeah.
Dahmer anymore. He doesn't want to be affiliated as such, and I don't blame him.
What about grandma? Let's.
Oh yeah. What about Grandma? How's Grandma doing? I can't make that out. Is Grandma at peace?
Did she know shit was going down in her house?
Oh God. Did Grandma know that Jeff boiled heads in her soup pot?
Your mom. Oh my god, I love her.
No. That was a really no. She
Sweet
didn't.
grandma.
She, I know, poor
You were
grandma.
so naive. I love it.
She was. She
I
loved
love
him.
you.
Well, can
Yeah.
you think of anything else to ask?
Not really. And what's creeping me out, and I hope it's just a setting, but your doll's freaking lights are blinking.
Oh yeah, they've been doing that. All right,
Okay.
ladies, I'm cutting this off.
There was literally, before we end, there was, Jody, what was it the last time we were recording? She said something, and I said what was so funny is that when you asked a question or when something cut out, I cannot remember the details. Her dolls made the lights blink.
They do that.
It's
Like
so bizarre.
I
Like, and
look,
it wasn't blinking like that. It
I'm
was
trying.
different.
So here's the remote. Like I keep hitting off, and they.
No. And when I'm watching her lives, I'm just going to throw this out for those who watch her lives and her do her dowsing rod things. Um, I notice things with the um, what is it? The freaking pod.
The REM
REM
pod.
pod.
I gotta get another
The
battery
REM
for it.
pod. What's
Yeah.
so weird is this has happened multiple times. The second I walk in, or I'm physically walking. The second I enter the room, the REM pod starts going off. It's like they're
Yeah.
announcing my presence to you. It's so bizarre.
They're like, I
And it
know.
happens constantly. It's so weird. But they got my
They're
back.
great.
They got my back.
They're great. They are.
Yeah.
So we have wrapped up Dahmer.
4
Next week's
episodes.
case will be it. We have to take a break from super heavy things because he was a lot. God love y'all
Mm-hmm.
and your patience. You have just listened to dismemberment, necrophilia, abusive corpses,
A lot.
like uh, everything. Jeff checked all the boxes.
All
Like
the
there was
boxes.
nothing that he did not do. Yes. So yeah.
I don't know if
Thank
we
you
have
guys. We
anybody in
appreciate it.
order, but just know that anybody listening, I constantly check the YouTube, the TikTok message stuff. I have seen the suggestions we've got, and I love the
I
feedback.
have
And I,
not seen them yet,
yeah,
but
and I love that you
so
guys are sending them in. We've gotten feedback from her mom that she absolutely loves when we do cases that aren't overly saturated, that we don't know about. They obviously like that Jody knows about it. I don't, so they get raw reactions. We hear you. Um, and some of the suggestions we got were really good. Really good. So,
oh good, good.
yes. So I'm going to throw them to Jody, and we'll talk and see what we got up our sleeves for you guys, and hopefully we'll get some of your suggestions in these podcasts so you guys can listen to them and enjoy them. So
Yes,
yes,
yes. So what do they need to do, Ash?
they need to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. If you want to watch us, we are on YouTube at MTV or MTV. God, I do that every time. And I know
Oh,
it gives some of our
my
listeners.
MTV.
It's my 90s heart. I'm telling you, when you roll it off the tongue, it's just habits die hard. I'm telling you. MTV, I love it.
It's
So,
not
MT
MTV.
Doll Talk, Murder Therapy with Doll Talk. If I said the full name, it wouldn't get messed up. That's what it is. But,
But it's
um,
abbreviated MT.
T.
Doll
M.
Talk.
Mary T. Thomas Doll Talk. And it's hard to keep track of because some let us abbreviate it, some don't. So that's what throws me off. But YouTube, MT Doll Talk. Spotify, it's Murder Therapy with Doll Talk. I'm pretty sure you can look it up in MT Doll Talk. I'm not 100% sure what it comes up at. I'll have to get back on you. But if you like to
No,
watch,
you have to on Spotify. You have to put murder therapy
that's
with
what I thought.
Doll Talk.
That's what I thought. You have
Mm-hmm.
got to spell it out. So Spotify, if you're a listener, I know I like to listen to it in the car. I do a lot of back office work, so I have my headphones in, listen to it on Spotify all the time. If you're a watcher, YouTube, in T Doll Talk. So it just depends on what you like. We're on all social media platforms as well. Please comment if you have any suggestions as well. Private message, do anything you need to get to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Thank you
All
guys.
right.
Love
Thanks,
you.
guys. Love you. Thanks for the support.
Bye.
Bye.